Jamaica has recorded 561 new cases of COVID-19 and 6 virus-related deaths yesterday. This pushes the total number of confirmed cases of the virus since the outbreak on the island to 27,465 and the death toll to 460. Prime Minister Andrew Holness urges compliance with COVID-19 measures to avoid stricter restrictions.
Yes, we are in the darkest hour of the pandemic, and I wish to prepare the Jamaican people that if the numbers do not improve, there are other measures which we will put in place.
Medical staff at the Mapen Hospital in Clarendon staged a demonstration yesterday demanding justice for a man reportedly killed by the police.
Them too wicked! Police brutality! Them too wicked!
And the teachers and students at the Garland Primary School in St. James staged a demonstration this morning after the school was broken into by burglars on the weekend and numerous items stolen. Good evening. The Ministry of Health and Wellness in the report for yesterday's COVID-19 numbers says Jamaica has recorded 561 new cases of COVID-19 and 6 virus-related deaths. This pushes the total number of confirmed cases of the virus since the outbreak on the island to 27,465 and the death toll to 460. The ministry said the latest deaths include 3 men from Trelawney, ages 71, 78, and 81. 2 women, a 36-year-old and a 64-year-old from St. James, as well as a 62-year-old man from Clarendon, are the other 3 deaths. Meanwhile, the ministry said of the new cases reported, 333 are females and 228 are males, with ages ranging from 4 months to 103 years old. The parish which reported the highest number of cases is Kingston and St. Andrew with 169 cases, while St. Catherine reported 103 new virus cases. The other cases were reported in St. Anne, 46, St. Elizabeth, 45, St. James, 39, Trelawney, 39, Manchester, 24, St. Thomas, 24, Westmoreland, 19, Clarendon, 18, Portland, 16, Hanover, 10, and St. Mary, 9. Active cases stand at 12,178 after 147 recoveries for the 24-hour period, bringing the total number of persons recovered from the virus to 14,595. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton yesterday disclosed that test results of random COVID-19 samples from patients with no travel history have confirmed that the highly contagious United Kingdom variant of the coronavirus is in the country. The health minister, who was giving an update at a briefing held at Jamaica House yesterday, said 7 of the positive COVID-19 samples sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, in Trinidad and Tobago were confirmed on Saturday to be those of the UK variant of the virus.
I want to report that we have received an update from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, where we have been sending samples to be tested for the COVID-19 variant strain. In January, we randomly selected confirmed positive cases from across parishes who had no history of travel to test for the variant strain, the UK or English variant strain. The samples completed the processing and we received results on March 6th. Of the samples sent, 8 were suitable for testing and 7 were found to be positive for the UK variant strain. The positive samples came from the parishes of St. Catherine, St. James, Clarendon, Kingston and St. Andrew, and Trelawney. What this confirms to us in public health is that the UK variant strain is present in our population, as manifested in the sequencing or the testing that has been done at CARFA in Trinidad. And I think it's important for us to recognize that, look at the features of this variant strain, which I know the CMO can comment more on, and could attribute, possibly, with more work to be done, more testing to be done, that this may have contributed also to the rate of spread in the population.
Dr. Tufton further pointed out that the government is moving to obtain the necessary equipment needed to conduct these testing here in Jamaica.
Our analysis has shown that given the widespread disregard for the protocols, the non-wearing of masks, the crowded situations, the illegal parties and social gatherings across the island, and also the increasing indication of symptomatic positive cases, all of this combined could be contributing to the rate of spread of the virus in the population. The issues around the variant strain is concerning. I mean, it has taken us some time to get the results of these tests because we don't do the tests here in Jamaica. And so we are moving to ensure that we have the necessary equipment to allow us the capacity to test for that variant strain. I understand from the technical personnel that we will need approximately 60 million Jamaican dollars to acquire certain pieces of equipment which will be lodged at the public health lab, which will contribute to testing here in Jamaica for the presence of variant strains, and in this particular case would help us to assess the prevalence of this particular strain in the population.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness warned yesterday that the country is the closest it has ever been to going into lockdown since the novel coronavirus pandemic hit the country in March 2020. He told a virtual press conference from Jamaica House that the government had done its best to balance the economy and the public health crises at the same time.
This is very serious. We are now in the danger zone. And what is happening is that by virtue of our past success, by virtue of delaying this point for more than a year since the pandemic, there are those who believe that we have passed the worst. Yes, we are in the darkest hour of the pandemic. We are now in the danger zone. The numbers will continue to rise. It is the nature of the pandemic. If we do not get these numbers down, it is likely that the mortality rate could also rise. So, in this phase of the management of the pandemic, the government has to remain strident. It has to remain resolute in the measures that we have implemented. And I wish to prepare the Jamaican people that if the numbers do not improve, there are other measures which we will put in place. These measures will have an impact on the economy. It will have even greater impact on your ability to move. It will have even greater impact on your ability to gather. It really depends on what you do at this point in time.
Prime Minister Holness also said his conscience is clear that the government has done all that they can in balancing lives and livelihoods.
We have always tried to be balanced. Whatever it is that we do in terms of measures, it has to be based on evidence. We look at two critical factors before we act. We look at the number of infections. Well, three. We look at the number of infections, the positivity rate, and the number of beds. Now we are at that very critical trigger line, and that is the number of beds. Because this trigger line is directly linked to the mortality rate. If people can't get treated in hospitals, and obviously if you have to go to the hospital, it is because you have dire symptoms, it is likely that you could have a fatal event as a result of the lack of hospital space. Your need to party and be free and go about not wearing your mask has to be balanced against the need of someone who will be deprived of care because we simply have no beds. My conscience is clear that we have done all that we can in balancing lives and livelihoods. At this stage, the equation and the balance has now shifted to saving lives.
The government is to administer the first set of vaccines in the fight against the coronavirus, COVID-19, this Wednesday. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dunstan Bryan, during a virtual press conference yesterday, pointed out that on Wednesday, approximately 3,280 persons will be vaccinated.
As per the standard, we indicated that the vaccination program will begin 48 hours after receipt of the vaccines at the airport. Therefore, our schedule is for us to begin our vaccination program on Wednesday, March 10. And if we go to the slide that points out the weekly schedule of vaccinations, we'll see that on Wednesday, approximately 3,280 persons will be vaccinated. Please note that the vaccination program is always in groups of 10 for this first phase in March, because the vial comes with 10 doses in each vial. And therefore, in order to prevent wastage, we always have to round up in terms of our dispensation to factors of 10. And so you'll see, so it's not just because we want to round up, because we're estimating, but we have to manage supply in a way that maximizes the dose per vial. So week one, to inoculate 17,050 healthcare workers.
Mr. Bryan further added that next week, members of the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, will be vaccinated.
Week two, 11,430 healthcare workers, but in week two, we now will also be inoculating persons from the JDF and the JCF. And then in week three, we continue the inoculation of healthcare workers, the JDF, the JCF, and then we begin to introduce the elderly population in week three. So we have separated our estimations or our targets into our health regions. So the Southeast Regional Health Authority, the Northeast Regional Health Authority, the Southern Regional Health Authority, and the Western Regional Health Authority. On Wednesday, in week one, these health facilities will be open for the inoculation of healthcare workers only.
Prime Minister Holness, in yesterday's press conference, assured the nation that the government is acting with the highest level of responsibility regarding the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right now, we have secured the 50,000 vaccines courtesy of India. We will get another tranche, this time from COVAX, which is about 14,400. And then in a few weeks' time, we will get another 100,000. And that is from other avenues that we are pursuing. I want to assure the nation, your government is acting with the highest level of responsibility in this regard. Before we take on any vaccine, we have to be sure of its safety and efficacy. Sometimes the conversation is as if we can ignore that. And it always leads me to wonder, God has placed you here at the right time. Because were it others, what would they have done based upon what they are saying now? We know the skepticism that is abroad in our country regarding vaccines. And if we are going to overcome that skepticism, the only way to do that is to be certain in the procurement of the vaccine that we are getting the safest vaccine with the highest level of efficacy. We are giving you that assurance.
In other news, the man captured in a viral video on social media on Sunday, allegedly breaching the Disaster Risk Management Act, has been arrested and charged. 42-year-old Stephen Witter of Stony Hill in St. Andrew was arrested and slapped with charges relative to multiple offenses, including breaches of the Disaster Risk Management Act, disorderly conduct, indecent language, obstructing the police, and using abusive and calumnious language on Monday as promised by the police. In a viral video, Witter chased a group of policemen from a beach in Hellshire, St. Catherine, and uttered expletives when they turned up to disperse a gathering. The police say Witter of Stony Hill in St. Andrew was fitted with a mask and his temperature checked before he was placed in a lockup. Meanwhile, during yesterday's press conference, Prime Minister Andrew Holness urged Jamaicans that it is our duty to adhere to the laws. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie gave a clear indication that considerations and assistance will be given to funeral homes and other persons working in that sector that are affected by the 2-week ban placed on funerals.
The government is sensitive of the concerns and the realities facing persons in the sector. We consider a proposal which we will be considering, and when I meet with the industry again on Thursday to continue the discussions, a number of issues have been placed on the table. We are considering to provide a financial grant to those persons who will be affected because of the ban that is placed on burials over the next 2 weeks. And this grant will be provided to those who I said before are responsible for the construction of the graves and the digging of the graves and the building of the vaults once we have agreed. The other area that we have been discussing that we will advance those discussions on Thursday is the burial or the cremation of bodies that are in an advanced state of decomposition, the burial or cremation of bodies that are not in an advanced stage of decomposition but have been recommended for immediate burial by the appropriate health authorities, and the burial or cremation of indigent persons who die in the custody of the state.
Minister McKenzie further outlined that a decision can come as soon as Friday of this week.
Many other proposals have been placed on the table, and as I said before, these discussions are ongoing. We will meet again on Friday to examine the remainder of the proposals, and then we will give a definite signal to the industry based on the 4 areas that I've just outlined a short while ago.
Opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting has said that the arrest and charge of former chairman of PT1, Dr. Percival Badu Singh, on 12 counts of obtaining money by false pretense would serve as an important deterrent to persons inclined towards corruption within the public sector. Mr. Bunting issued a statement yesterday, shortly after Badu Singh was arrested and charged by detectives from the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA. It is alleged that between December 2016 and May 2018, Badu Singh fraudulently claimed reimbursements and was paid monies by Petrojam, the state-owned oil refinery, for overseas business trips that he did not take. MOCA said the fraudulent claims over the period amounted to US $73,620. MOCA informed that it conducted a thorough multi-jurisdictional investigation into the allegations prepared and submitted a file to the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, who ruled that criminal charges be filed against the former chairman. The agency also disclosed that Badu Singh was interviewed in the presence of his attorney and was subsequently arrested and charged. He was later offered bail and is to appear in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Wednesday, March 17. MOCA has advised that its investigation is continuing with a view of conducting other interviews shortly. Bunting, in his statement, said some of the claims that were made by Badu Singh were exposed in parliamentary contributions by the opposition People's National Party. He said that the public should recall the, quote, scandalous corruption and waste of taxpayer funds exposed via a comprehensive audit of Petrojam by the Auditor General's Department in 2018, and which was further amplified in the 2019 hearings on the report by the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, end quote. He further said that, quote, notwithstanding the catalogue of waste and abuse identified in that report, this is the first case of criminal charges being laid in the sordid affair, end quote. He congratulated MOCA for what he described as its tenacity and thoroughness in conducting a multi-jurisdictional investigation into the allegations, which resulted in criminal charges being filed. Medical staff at the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon staged a demonstration yesterday demanding justice for a man killed by police. The man, who was known to have frequented the hospital grounds and was cared for by the medical staff, has been identified as 35-year-old Damian Booth, who was shot and killed near to the hospital on Saturday morning. The workers are therefore demanding a speedy investigation into his death. It is understood that Mr. Booth was of unsound mind. It is still not clear why the man was shot by the police. However, the medical staff say they were told Mr. Booth was shot because he behaved aggressively towards the police. The medical staff are, however, challenging that account. The workers say they have known Mr. Booth for years and he was never aggressive.
Damian is a part of our family. And when I come this morning and get this sad news, I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel. You understand? Somebody could have killed Damian with a cup of porridge in his hand. Only a cup of porridge. Good God, man. If he have a tool in his hand, you could have said, okay, probably it was boisterous or anything. But Damian never behaved in so many ways. Everybody loved by Damian. I feel it's something like I don't know what to say. I will feed Damian, we close Damian. We do everything.
Security give me medication.
We paid him. We ensure that we get his medication. You understand me?
In no time when we go to clinic to get him medication and give security medication, to take him medication. Them too wicked. Police brutality. Them too wicked.
The angry placard-bearing protesters chanted their grouses for over an hour but remained peaceful. The protest action was monitored by the police. Mr. Booth's sister is urging the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, to do a thorough investigation into the incident.
I'm here, Damian sister Nicole. Me want to know the policeman. He's still at work. They might talk about the investigation. And that's it. We're not going to get nothing from them. Right, we want to know him. If we come to life, we call INDECOM and all know we don't see them. They don't call with nothing at all. That's why we come out here, so. Watch family, watch Damian family, them will work over hospital. Watch them. If Damian and a good boy, then the out, that's how it will.
In the meantime, INDECOM has launched a probe into the incident. And we understand that the weapon used to shoot Mr. Booth has also been seized for processing. We will bring you more details on this story in subsequent newscast. In other news, teachers and students at the Garland Primary School in St. James staged a demonstration this morning after the school was broken into by burglars on the weekend and numerous items were stolen. The school principal, Ms. Georgette Williams, explained what she learned had transpired.
The school was broken into on Saturday night. That would be March 6th at approximately, would be sometime after 9, between 8:50 something, thereabout going on. I was called by the watchman after 6 in the morning, and he told me that when he did his patrol, that's what he found, an open door, grill wide open. They entered from that end, we are assuming. All right, and they went to the back of the building, broke off the lock that is there to the grill, pried the door open and climbed over into the front office. And that's where you had the tablets were and the television.
And the laptops.
And the laptops, sorry, not tablets, laptops. That's where they were, along with the television. And they took those, but then they walk around in the dark because they had already disconnected the surveillance camera.
Yes.
So they are able now to move about freely. So they came around and they pried open the office door and knocked off the lock and all of that and tossed the office.
Ms. Williams further outlined the items that were taken from the school by the burglars.
After the police did their final thing on Sunday evening, their forensic investigation, we looked now to see exactly what was missing. We realized that the television that is attached to the surveillance camera, that was taken. 3 laptops were taken. Some machetes, brand new machetes, were taken, like a mouse. I'm trying to remember. And chargers, of course. A monitor, I think, was taken. I can't forget the doors, because that is going to cost some money to replace the locks and get somebody to come in to fix doors and fix grills, all of that kind of thing. So it is traumatic and it's going to be costing us some money. Plus, itemizing what has been stolen is one thing. Actually seeing the chaos is another.
A teacher at the school, Lesson Thompson Brown, is appealing to persons breaking into the school to stop, as this is robbing the students of having what they need to learn.
I've been teaching at this school for 21 years. This is where I have molded children for education, and I've seen them grow into good men and good women. I'm appealing to the community, to the young men who are doing this. Please stop doing this. Stop destroying our education. Stop destroying the school. You need us and we need you. Just work with us. So I'm begging you. The laptops that you stole, the school phone that you stole, whatever you stole from the school, take it back. And please, don't do it again. We love you and we want to see us grow as one community together. All right? So I'm begging you, please, don't do it again.
The students who were there participating in the demonstration had this message for the persons breaking into the school.
Give us a chance to be educated. Stop stealing from our school. A community that steals from its own is a community in trouble. Stop breaking our school. If we were together, instead of stealing from each other, we will achieve more. Stop breaking our school. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. How can we have endless classes if you steal our devices?
21-year-old Basil Bartley, a bus conductor of Racecourse District, Oracabessa in St. Mary, died as a result of injuries he received when he was hit by a motor vehicle on Da Costa Drive in St. Anne on the weekend. Reports from the St. Anne's Bay Police are that at about 7:20 p.m. on Sunday, Bartley was crossing the roadway when he was hit by a Toyota Camry motor car that was traveling towards St. Anne's Bay. The driver of the motor vehicle fled the scene. However, he was subsequently intercepted along the Landovery Main Road in the parish and arrested. Bartley was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The identity of the person taken into custody is being withheld pending further investigations. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with news of an advisory by the National Works Agency that there will be single-lane traffic along the Flankers Main Road in the vicinity of the Jamaica Defence Force Barracks for the month of March, as well as news that the Tax Administration Jamaica has introduced an auto-renewal feature for the tax compliance certificate by its Revenue Administration Information System. But first, let's take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.